afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand. Welcome to the Golden Guided Meditation Call for Sunday, October 16th, 2022. A little after 3 p.m. Eastern. This world is our mirror, and our mind is a magnet. What we perceive in this world is largely a reflection of our own attitudes and beliefs. Michael above. This world is a magnificent mirror that is always reflecting ourselves back to us. What we see happening is our outer world is a representation on a deeper level of what is going on somewhere in our inner world. If we are overflowing with love for our fellow man, vibrating love with every cell in our bodies, we will experience people who are feeling this love, and their love is reflected back towards us. On the other hand, if all we see in our outer world is disharmony, aggression, and fighting, then there must be an inner battle happening deeper inside. You may wonder why we have seen reflections in the outer mirror that at first glance do not seem to be in alignment with our inner world and how you are truly feeling. The truth of who you are is discovered in the reflection and in your response to it. It is important to remember that each reflection that you don't like is pointing to an imbalance in your being around some specific wound from your past. And that past could be a past life. For example, someone may continue to be belligerent with you while you are constantly being super sweet, helpful, and loving with them. If and when you inquire deeper into this, you will eventually notice that somewhere in your past, you were treating yourself with a deeper disrespect that was not healed. A loving person lives in a loving world. A hostile person lives in a hostile world. Everyone you meet is your mirror. Ken Keyes. When that wound is healed within you, they will change their actions towards you. This is the miracle and power of seeing the great mirror. And sure, you may try to be super loving with everyone, yet only when you have found a lovable, peaceful quality within every part of your being will you stop manifesting negative responses from people. Never take anything too personally. Your life is not about pleasing your ego. The great mirror of life may send these unloving messages as a way of waking you up and freeing you from your ego to discover the divine, all-powerful, loving being you truly are. And yes, you are 100% responsible for whatever you love or loathe about yourself. And you have the power to change it. Once you see something in your outer world that you dislike, get curious about how this is showing up inside you and what your most enlightened response is to it. Take a closer look at the health of your inner psyche. to see the positive shifts you get to make in your outer world. Right now, notice what's going on within your inner climate. What is it like? What do you love about yourself and want to keep? And what part would you like to change? And as we all know, Gandhi made the statement, be the change you wish to see in the world. Remember that shaming yourself or others for what you see inside only causes you to play the victim role and become more disempowered. The blame-shame game keeps us all from healing our deeper wounds inside that are causing this unhealthy aspect inside of us in the first place. We can shift this energy quite easily. Simply make the conscious decision to practice gentleness with yourself, no matter what. This is the key. No matter what. Whatever happens, the reaction you will have is always gentleness. Be that person you'd want to meet on the road, and very soon the grand mirror will reflect this love back to you. You can start anytime you choose. You can start today to transcend any situation in your outer world by shifting your inner terrain. It simply takes remaining at a high enough vibration where you can bring a sense of lightness into those wounded parts that need healing. Use your imagination. Become the creative healing master of your mind. At a certain age, sex becomes important. Not that you make it important. It is not something that you make happen. It happens. At the age of 14, somewhere near there, give or take, suddenly your energy is flooded with sex. It happens as if the floodgates have been opened to you. Subtle sources of energy, which were not yet open, have become open. And your whole energy becomes sexual, colored with sex. You think sex you sing sex, you walk sex. Everything becomes sexual. Every act is colored. This happens. You have not done anything about it. It is natural. Transcendence is also natural. If sex is lived totally, with no condemnation, with no idea of getting rid of it, then at the age of 42, just as at the age of 14, sex gets open and the whole energy becomes sexual. At the age of 42 or nearabout, those floodgates close again. And that, too, is as natural as sex becoming alive. It starts disappearing. Sex is transcended not by any effort on your part. If you make any effort, that will be repressive, because it has nothing to do with you. It is built in your body, in your biology. You are born as sexual beings. Nothing, absolutely nothing is wrong with it. That is the only way to be born. To be human is to be sexual. When you were conceived, your mother and your father were not praying. They were not listening to a priest's sermon. They were not in the church. They were making love, even To think that your mother and father were making love when you were conceived seems to be difficult. They were making love. Their sexual energies were meeting and merging into each other. Then you were conceived. In a deep sexual act, you were conceived. The first cell was a sex cell. And then out of that cell, other cells have arisen. But each cell remains sexual, basically. Your whole body is sexual, made of sex cells. Now they are millions. Remember it. You exist as a sexual being. Once you accept it, the conflict that has been created down through the centuries dissolves. Once you accept it deeply with no ideas in between, when sex is thought of as simply natural, you live it. You don't ask me how to transcend eating. You don't ask me how to transcend breathing, because no religion has taught you to transcend breathing. That's why. Otherwise, you would be asking how to transcend breathing. You breathe. You are a breathing animal. You are a sexual animal also. But there is a difference. 14 years of your life is the beginning. 14 years of your life in the beginning are almost non-sexual, or at the most, just rudimentary sexual play that is not really sexual. Just preparing, rehearsing, that's all. At the age of 14, suddenly the energy is ripe. Watch. A child is born immediately. Within 3 seconds, the child has to breathe. Otherwise, he will die. Then breathing is to continue the whole of his life, because it has come at the first step of life. Cannot be transcendent. Maybe before you die then, just 3 seconds before, it will stop, but not before it. Always remember, both ends of life, the beginning and the end, are exactly similar, symmetrical. The child is born. He starts breathing in 3 seconds. When the child is old and dying, the moment he stops breathing, within 3 seconds, he will be dead. Sex enters at a very late stage. For 14 years, the child has lived without sex. And if the society is not too repressed and hence obsessed with sex, a child can live completely oblivious to the fact that sex or that anything like sex exists. The child can remain absolutely innocent. That innocence is also not possible because people are so repressed. When repression happens, then side by side, obsession also happens. So priests go on repressing, and there are anti-priests, Hugh Hefners and others. They go on creating more and more pornography. So on, they go on and on and on. Over 70% of the internet is pornography. And then on one side, there are priests who go on repressing. And then there are others, anti-priests, who go on making sexuality more and more glamorous. They both exist together, aspects of the same coin. When churches disappear, only then will Playboy magazines disappear, not before it. They are partners in the business. They look like enemies, but don't be deceived by that. They talk against each other, but that's how things work. I heard about two men who were out of business, had gone broke. So they decided to create a very simple new business. They started journeying, touring from one town to another town. First one would enter, and then the night he would throw coal tar on people's windows and doors. After 2 or 3 days, the other would come to clean. He would advise that he could clean even coal tar from their houses, and he would clean the windows. During that time, the other would be doing his half of the business in the next town. This way, they started earning much money. This is what is happening between the church and the Hugh Hefners and other people who are creating pornography. It is together. They are partners in a conspiracy. Whenever you are too repressed, you start finding a perverse interest. A perverted interest is the problem, not sex. So never carry a single idea against sex in your mind. Otherwise, you will never be able to transcend it. People who transcend sex are people who accept it very naturally. It is difficult, I know, because you are born in a society that is neurotic about sex. Either this way or that, but it is neurotic all the same. It is very difficult to get out of this neurosis, but if you are a little alert, you can get out of it. So the real thing is not how to transcend sex, but how to transcend this perverted ideology of the society, this fear of sex, this repression of sex, this obsession with sex. Sex is beautiful. Sex in itself is a natural, rhythmic phenomenon. It happens when the child is ready to be conceived. And it is good that it happens. Otherwise, life would not exist. Life exists through sex. Sex is its medium. If you understand life, if you love life, you will know sex is sacred and holy. Then you live it. When you delight in it, and as naturally as it has come, it goes of its own accord. By the age of 42, or somewhere near there, sex starts disappearing as naturally as it had come into being. But it doesn't happen that way. You will be surprised when I say near about 42 or so, you know people who are 70, 80, and yet they have not gone beyond. You know dirty old people. They are victims of the society because they could not be natural. It is a hangover because they repressed when they should have enjoyed and delighted. In those moments of delight, they were not totally in it. They were not orgasmic. They were half-hearted. So whenever you are half-hearted in anything, it lingers longer. If you're sitting at your table and eating, and if you eat only half-heartedly and your hunger remains, then you will continue to think about food for the whole day. You can try fasting, and you will see you will continuously think about food. But if you have eaten well, and when I say eaten well, I don't mean only that you have stuffed your stomach, then it is not necessarily so that you have eaten well. You could have stuffed yourself, but eating well is an art. It is not just stuffing. It is a great art to taste the food, to smell the food, to touch the food, to chew the food, to digest the food, and to digest it as divine. It is divine. It is God's gift. Food is divine. So with deep respect, you eat, and while eating, you forget everything, because it is prayer. It is existential prayer. You are eating God, and God is going to give you nourishment. It's energy. We're all energy. It is a gift to be accepted with deep love and gratitude. And you don't stuff the body, because stuffing the body is going against the body. It is the other pole. There are people who are obsessed with fasting, and there are people who are obsessed with stuffing themselves. Both are wrong, because in both ways, the body loses balance. A real lover of the body eats only to the point where the body feels perfectly quiet, balanced, tranquil. Where the body feels to be neither leaning to the left nor to the right, but just in the middle. It is an art to understand the language of the body, to understand the language of your stomach, to understand what is needed, to give only what is needed, and to give that in an artistic way, in an aesthetic way. Animals eat, man eats. Then what is the difference? Man makes a great aesthetic experience out of eating. What is the point in having a beautiful dining table? What is the point of having candles burning there? What is the point of incense? What is the point of asking friends to come and participate? It is to make it an art, not just stuffing. But these are outward signs of the art. The inward signs are to understand the language of your body, to listen to it, to be sensitive to its needs. And then you eat. And then the whole day, you will not remember food at all. Only when the body is hungry again, with the remembrance, come, then it is natural. With sex, the same thing happens. If you have no anti-attitude about it, you take it as a natural divine gift with great gratitude. You enjoy it. With prayer, you enjoy it. Tantra says that before you make love to a woman or to a man, first pray, because it is going to be a divine meeting of energies. God is surrounding us. Wherever two lovers are, there is God. Wherever two lovers' energy are meeting and mingling, there is life, alive, at its best. God surrounds you. Churches are empty. Love chambers are full of God. If you have tasted love the way Tantra says to taste it, if you have known love the way Tao says to know it, then by the time you reach 42, sex starts disappearing of its own accord, and you say goodbye to it with deep gratitude because you are fulfilled. It has been delightful. It has been a deep, eternal loving. You say goodbye to it. And 42 is the age for meditation, the right age. Sex disappears, the overflowing energy is no longer there. There's residual, which confuses many. One becomes more tranquil. Passion has gone. Compassion arises. Now, there is no more fever. One is not interested in the other. With sex disappearing, the other is too longer the focus. The other is no longer the focus. One starts returning towards one's own source. The return journey starts. Sex is transcended not by your effort. It happens if you have lived it totally. That's the key. It happens if you have lived it totally. So my suggestion is drop all anti-attitudes, anti-life attitudes, and accept the facticity. Sex is, so who are you to drop it? And who is trying to drop it? It is just the ego. Remember, sex creates the greatest problem for the ego. Sex creates the greatest problem for the ego. So there are two types of people. Very egotistic people are always against sex. Humble people, excuse me, are never against sex. But who listens to humble people? In fact, humble people don't go preaching, only egotists. Why is there a conflict between sex and ego? Because sex is something in your life where you cannot be egotistic. When the other becomes more important than you, your woman, your man becomes more important than you. In every other case, you remain the most important. In a love relationship, the other becomes very, very, very important, tremendously important. You become a satellite, and the other becomes the nucleus. And the same is happening for the other. You become the nucleus, he becomes a satellite. It is a reciprocal surrender. Both are surrendering to love, and both become humble. Sex is the only energy that gives you hints that there is something that you cannot control. Money, for the most part, you can control. Politics, you can control. The market, you can control. Knowledge, you can control. Science, you can control. Morality, you can control. Somewhere, sex brings in a totally different world. You cannot control it. And the ego is the great controller. It is happy if it can control. It is unhappy if it cannot control. So there starts a conflict between ego and sex. Remember, it is a losing battle. The ego cannot win it because ego is just superficial. Sex is very deep-rooted. Sex is your life. Ego is just your mind, your head. Sex has roots all over you. Ego has roots only in your ideas. Very superficial, just in the head. So who will try to transcend sex, the head will try to transcend sex. If you're too much in the head, then you want to transcend sex, because sex brings you down to the guts. It does not allow you to remain hanging in the head. Everything else you can manage from there. Sex you cannot manage from there. You cannot make love with your head. You have to come down. You have to descend from your heights. You have to come closer to earth. Sex is humiliating to the ego. So egotistic people are always against sex. They go on finding ways and means to transcend it. They can never transcend it. They can, at the most, become perverted. Their whole effort from the very beginning is doomed to failure. You may pretend that you have won over sex, but an undercurrent. You may rationalize. You may find reasons. You may pretend. You may create a very hard shell around yourself, but deep down, the real reason, the reality, will stand untouched. And the real cause will explode. You cannot hide it. It is not possible. So you can try to control sex. But an undercurrent of sexuality will run, and it will show itself in many ways. Out of all your rationalizations, it will again and again raise its head. Now, I'm not going to suggest that you make any effort to transcend it. What I do suggest is just the contrary. Forget about transcending it. Move into it as deeply as you can. While the energy is there, move as deeply as you can. Love as deeply as you can. Make an art of it. It is not just to be done. That is the whole meaning of making an art of lovemaking. There are subtle nuances which only people who enter with a great aesthetic sense will be able to know. Otherwise, you can make love for your whole life and still remain unsatisfied because you don't know that satisfaction is something very aesthetic. It is like a subtle music arising in your soul. If through sex you fall into harmony, if through love you become relaxed, if love is not just throwing energy because you don't know what to do with it, if it is not just a relief but a relaxation, if you relax into your woman and your woman relaxes into you, if for a few seconds, for a few moments or a few hours, you forget who you are and you are completely lost in oblivion, you will come out of it purer, more innocent, more virgin, and you will have a different type of being, an ease, centered, rooted. If this happens, one day suddenly you will see that the flood has gone and it has left you very, very, very rich, you will not be sorry that it is gone. You will be thankful, because now a richer world's open. When sex leaves you, the doors of meditation open. When sex leaves you, then you are not trying to lose yourself in the other. You become capable of losing yourself in yourself. Now another world of orgasm, the inner orgasm of being with oneself, arises. But that arises only through being with the other. One grows, matures through the other. Then a moment comes when you can be alone, tremendously happy. There is no need for any other. The need has disappeared. But you have learned much through it. Learned much through it. You have learned much about yourself. The other became the mirror, and you have not broken the mirror. You have learned so much about yourself. Now there is no need to look into the mirror. You can close your eyes. You can see your face there. But you would not be able to see that face if there had been no mirror from the very beginning. Let your woman be your mirror. Let your man be your mirror. Look into her eyes and see your face. Move into her to know yourself. Then one day, the mirror will not be needed. But you will not be against the mirror. You will be so grateful to it. How can you be against it? You'll be so thankful. How can you be against it? Then, transcendence. Transcendence is not repression. Transcendence is a natural outgrowing. You grow above. You go beyond. Just as a seed breaks and a sprout starts rising above the ground. When sex disappears, the seed disappears. In sex, you were able to give birth to somebody else, a child. When sex disappears, the whole energy starts giving birth to you. This is what Hindus have called Dvija, the twice-born. One birth has been given to you by your parents. The other birth is waiting. It has to be given to you by yourself. You have to father and mother yourself. Then your whole energy is turning in. It becomes an inner circle. Right now, it will be difficult for you to make an inner circle. It will be easier to connect it with another pole, a woman or a man, and then the circle becomes complete. Then you can enjoy the deeply eternal loving of the circle. But by and by, you will be able to make the inner circle alone. Because inside of you also, you are man and woman, woman and man. Because inside of you also, you are man and woman, woman and man. Nobody is just a man, and nobody is just a woman, because you come from a man and a woman's communion. Both have participated. Your mother has given something to you. Your father has given something to you. 50-50. They have contributed to you. Both are there. There is a possibility that both can meet inside you. Again, your father and mother can love inside you. Then your reality will be born. Once they meet, once they met, when your body was born, now, if they can meet inside you, your soul will be born. That's what transcendence of sex is. It is a higher sex. When you transcend sex, you reach to a higher sex. Ordinary sex is gross. Higher sex is not gross at all. Ordinary sex is outward moving. Higher sex is inward moving. In ordinary sex, two bodies meet, and the meeting happens on the outside. In higher sex, your own inner energies meet. It is not physical, it is spiritual. It is transcendence. These, as we have been conditioned from the very beginning, over and over and over again, lifetime after lifetime, some of these things, some of these understandings are meant to just open up any of us who wish to be opened up. And to give us and to allow us to discover ourselves a much larger comprehension about who and what we are. You can see and feel mostly in the heart-mind as I share this information with you that there's a lot that vibrate, but yet there is a tendency to fight it, right? Disagree with it. This is the ego mind coming in. You can see how things spill over, so to speak. And understand, if all of us, from the very beginning, when we enter these bodies, learn and understand that we are at ease, like with sex on the outside, and that brings us eventually and transcends us to sex on the inside. But these understandings are lost through the church, the priests, and the pornography. All of it. The reason there's pornography is because, why? We were, when sex was prevalent, we were only half-hearted with it. We didn't understand it. Is that a bad thing? No. None of it's bad. It's discovery for all of us. Is it contemplation? Maybe for some. But you then begin, things start falling into place naturally. This is all about going within and beginning to understand who and what we are. That's what all of this is about. Rather than being in a race to get somewhere that we have no idea where is. There's many times in our existence throughout our different lifetimes At times we have transcended, and other times we have descended. And many things that are presented that seem to be foreign to the ego mind tries to shove it aside. But this civilization, unbeknownst to it, has outgrown the family. The utility of the family is finished. It has lived too long. Why is that? Doesn't mean that, family members love each other and get together and support one another. And we're not talking about that. We're talking about the family. It is one of the most ancient institutions. So only very perceptive people can see that it is dead already. It will take time for others to recognize the fact that the family is dead. It has done its work. It is no longer relevant in the new context of things. It is no longer relevant for the new humanity that is just being born in the new earth. The family has been good and bad. It has been a help. Man has survived through it. It has been very harmful because it has corrupted the human mind. But there was no alternative in the past. There was no way to choose anything else. It was a necessary evil. That need not be so in the future. The future can have alternative styles. And the future is not going to be one fixed pattern. It will have many, many, many alternative styles. If a few people still choose to have a family, they should have the freedom to have it. It will be a very small percentage. There are families on the earth, very rare, not more than 1%, that are really, really, really beautiful, that are really beneficial, in which growth happens, in which there is no authority, no power trip, no possessiveness, in which children are not destroyed, in which the wife is not trying to destroy the husband, and the husband is not trying to destroy the wife, where love is and freedom is, where people have gathered together just out of joy, not for other motives, where there is no politics, where there is no politics. These kinds of families have existed on earth. They are still here. For these people, there is no need to change. In the future, they can continue to live in families. But for the greater majority, the family is an ugly thing. You can ask the psychoanalyst, and they will say that all kinds of mental diseases arise out of the family. All kinds of psychoses, neuroses arise out of the family. The family creates a very, very, very ill human being. There is no need. Alternative styles should be possible. One alternative style is the commune. It is right up there. Commune means people living in a liquid family. Children belong to the commune. They belong to all. There is no personal property, no personal ego. A man lives with a woman because they feel like living together, because they cherish it. They enjoy it. The moment they feel that love is no longer happening, they don't go on clinging to each other. They say goodbye with all gratitude, with all friendship. They start moving with other people. The only problem in the past was what to do with the children. In a commune, children can belong to the commune, and that will be far better. They will have more opportunities to grow with many more kinds of people. Otherwise, a child grows up with the mother. For years, the mother and the father are the only two images of human beings for him or her. Naturally, he starts imitating them. Children turn out to be imitators of their fathers, and they perpetuate the same kind of illness in the world as their parents did. They become carbon copies. It's very destructive. And there is no way for the children to do something else. They don't have any other source of information. If 100 people live together in a commune, there will be many male members, many female members. The child need not get fixed and obsessed with one pattern of life. He can learn from his father. He can learn from his uncles. He can learn from all the men in the community. He will have a bigger soul. Families crush people, give them very little souls. In the community, the child will have a bigger soul. He will have more possibilities. He will be far more enriched in his being. He will see many women. He will not have one idea of a woman. It is very destructive to have only one single idea of a woman, because throughout your whole life, you will be searching and searching and searching for your mother. Whenever you fall in love with a woman, watch. There is every possibility that you have found someone that is similar to your mother. And that may be the thing that you should have avoided. Each child is angry with his mother. The mother has to prohibit many things. The mother has to say no, cannot be avoided. Even a good mother sometimes has to say no and restrict and deny. The child feels rage, anger. He hates the mother and loves the mother. Also because she is his survival, his source of life and energy. So he hates the mother and loves the mother together. And that becomes the pattern. You will love the woman and you will hate the same woman. And you don't have any other kind of choice. You will always go on searching unconsciously for your mother. And that happens to women also. They go on searching for their father. Their whole life is a search to find dad as a husband. Now, your dad is not the only person in the world. The world is far richer. And in fact, if you can find the dad, you will not be happy. You can be happy with a beloved, with a lover, not with your daddy. If you can find your mother, you will not be happy with her. You know her already. There is nothing else to explore. That is familiar already. And familiarity breeds contempt. You should search for something new, but you don't have any image. In a commune, a child will have a richer soul. He will know many women. He will know many men. He will not be addicted to one or two persons. The family creates an obsession in you, and the obsession is against humanity. If your father is fighting with somebody and you see he is wrong, that doesn't matter. You have to be with the father and on his side, just as people say, wrong or right. My country is my country. So they say, my father is my father, wrong or right. My mother is my mother. I have to be with her. Otherwise, it will be a betrayal. This situation teaches us to be unjust. You can see your mother is wrong, and she is fighting with the neighbor, and the neighbor is right. But you have to be with the mother. This is the learning of an unjust life. In a commune, You will not be attached too much to one family. There will be no family to be attached to. You'll be more free, less obsessed. You'll be more just. And you will have love from many sources. You will feel that life is loving. The family teaches you a kind of conflict with society, with other families. The family demands monopoly. It asks you to be for it and against all others. You have to be in the service of the family. You have to go on fighting for the name and the fame of the family. The family teaches you ambitious conflict, aggression. In a commune, you will be less aggressive. You will be more at ease with the world because you have known so many people. And of course, the image of commune has digressed, disintegrated, discredited, made foul, evil, destructive on purpose so that people would not gravitate to this broadness. So instead of the family, we see a community where all will be friends. Even husbands and wives should not be more than friends. Their marriage should be just an agreement between the two. They have decided to be together because they are happy together. The moment even one of them decides that unhappiness is settling, then they separate. There's no need for any divorce because there is no marriage. There is no divorce. One lives spontaneously. When you live miserably, by and by, you become habituated to misery. Never for a single moment should one tolerate any misery. It may have been good to live with a man in the past and joyful, but if it is no longer joyful, then you have to get out of it. And there is no need to get angry and destructive. And there is no need to carry a grudge. Because nothing can be done about love. Love is like a breeze. You see, it just comes. If it is there, it is there. Then it is gone. And when it is gone, it is gone. Love is a mystery. You cannot manipulate it. Love should not be manipulated. Love should be legalized. Love should not be forced for no reason at all. In a community, commune, people will be living together just out of the sheer joy of being together for no other reason. And when the joy has disappeared, they part. Maybe it feels sad, but they have to part. Maybe the nostalgia of the past still lingers in the mind, but they have to part. They owe it to each other that they should not live in misery. Otherwise, misery becomes a habit. They part with heavy hearts, but with no grudge. They will seek other partners. In the future, there will be no marriage, as it has been in the past, and no divorce, as it has been in the past. Life will be more liquid, more trusting. There will be more trust in the mysteries of life than in the clarities of the law. More trust in life itself than in anything. The court, the police, the priests, the church, and the children should belong to all. They should not carry the badges of their family. They will belong to the community, the commune. The commune will take care of them. This will be the most revolutionary step in human history. For people to start living in a community, a commune, and to start being truthful, honest, trusting, and to go on dropping the law more and more. In a family, love disappears sooner or later. In the first place, it may not have been there at all from the very beginning. It may have been an arranged marriage for other motives, for money, power, prestige. There may not have been any love from the very beginning. Then children are born out of wedlock. That is more like a deadlock. Children are born out of no love. From the very beginning, they become deserts. And this is no love. State in the house makes them dull and unloving. They learn their first lesson of life from their parents, and the parents are unloving. And there is constant jealousy and fighting and anger. And the children go on seeing the ugly faces of their parents. Their very hope is destroyed. They can't believe that love is going to happen in their life. If it has not happened in their parents' lives, and they are and see other parents, other families also, children are very perceptive, and they go on looking all around and observing. And when they see that there is no possibility of love, they start feeling that love is only in poetry. It exists only for poets, visionaries, has no actuality in life. And once you have learned the idea that love is just poetry, then it will never happen because you have become closed to it. To see it happen is the only way to let it happen. Later on in your own life, if you see your father and mother in deep love, in great love, caring for each other, with compassion for each other, with respect for each other, then you have seen love happening. Hope arises. A seed falls into your heart and starts growing. You know it is going to happen. To you, too. If you have not seen it, how can you believe it? It is going to happen. To you, too. If it didn't happen to your parents, how can it happen to you? In fact, you will do everything to prevent it happening to you. Otherwise, it will look like a betrayal of your parents. I'll join you in the meditation, and I'll return to close us out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose, and an easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still. Whoever you've decided you are is still the tiniest fraction of who you really are. You are not defined by the ideas you have about yourself, nor your desires, nor the shape of your body, and not the positive or negative attitude of your mind. You are beyond all of this. You are indefinable. You are greater than your mind can fathom. You are a spiritual energy which is unbounded and infinite. This is the true you that will never die. Sometime today, for 5 minutes, sit with the question, who am I? Explore it with your heart, not with your head. Be aware of the mind whenever it creates another idea of who you will be or who you were. And instead, dive into the very essence of your being. Explore what is here now at the very core of you in this moment. Take this with you for the rest of the day and the evening and night and the following morning. We will return here Monday, October 17th, 2022, 3 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call. Be good to yourself.